But I want you to see this. I want you to see, notice in the notes, the past is Eden, Genesis 1 and 2, God visits the earth with man. The present, this intermediate heaven. The moment you die, you go to be with Jesus, but you don't have a resurrected body. So in this arena, God becomes man to rescue man from a fallen earth. There's going to be a window of time that will look like, and I'll give you a chart, where God is going to set up and fulfill all of his promises on this earth. And then finally, there's heaven comes down to earth. And there's a new heaven on a new earth in an absolutely perfect environment. Follow along, Genesis chapter 1, you got it? Look at verse 26, just to highlight. Then God said, let us make man in our image, according to our likeness, and let him rule over the fish of the sea and the birds of the sky and over the cattle and over the earth and every creeping thing that's on the earth. And God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created them, male and female. And then notice, to be fruitful and to multiply and to fill the earth and subdue it and rule it. And it talks about the specifics of how that looks. And then notice the giving and the heart and the blessing. God says, behold, I've given you every plant of yielding seed that is on the surface of the earth and every tree of fruit yielding for your food. And then he talks about the beasts, and I've created food for all of them. And God saw everything that he'd made there at the end of chapter 1, and it was very good. And thus the heavens and the earth were completed, chapter 2, verse 1. Verse 4, it says, this is the account of heaven and earth when they were created in the day that the Lord God made the heaven and the earth. And so chapter 1 of Genesis is just this wide-angle lens, the big picture of 7 days, all that God did, man in his image. But here's what I want you to get. There's this creator God that spoke all the world into existence, and on this planet, he created it special, and then he made us, and then he put us in it, and then he created an environment to have deep, intimate fellowship with us and one another, and then he gave us purpose. Rule, multiply, work, write, sing, create culture, literature, live with me intimately. Now, chapter 2, the author says, okay, there's the wide-angle lens. Let me zoom in and tell you a little bit about how it actually happened. Pick it up at verse 7. Then the Lord God formed the man out of the dust of the earth and breathed life into his nostrils, the breath of life, and the man became a living being. And the Lord planted a garden toward the east in Eden, and he placed the man there that he formed. Do you see this fatherly? I want to create this wonderful environment. And out of the ground, the Lord caused to grow every tree that's pleasing to the sight and good for food, the tree of life also in the midst of the garden, and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Look at verse 10. Now a river flowed out of Eden to water the garden. Now I want you to get this, the trees, the pleasing, the tree of life, a river. Because what I'm going to show you, we're going to go all the way to the very end of the Bible. We're going to skip everything that happens from about Genesis chapter 3 all the way through all the time and chronology of the Bible when God's going to make everything right. And you're going to find that there's some trees and that there's a river. And then everything he started here that gets destroyed, he's going to bring back on a new heaven and a new earth. Notice it goes on, the Lord took the man and he put him into the Garden of Eden. And notice there's a job to cultivate it and keep it. On this new earth, you'll have jobs. In fact, we've learned recently about kind of jobs that you'll have is directly proportional to our faithfulness on our time on this earth. And then notice the compassion and relationships. It said the Lord said it's not good for man to be alone. I'll make a helper suitable for him. And then we get the story, and then I love this. And the Lord God fashioned into a woman the rib which he had taken from the man, and and he brought her to the man. This is a benevolent, loving Father, Creator, who's creating an environment and a world for the greatest joy of his creation in their relationships with one another, in the environment that they live in. He's given them jobs and work and cultivation and purpose, meaningful relationships. And then in this first world, notice, and they were naked and unashamed. There's no sin, there's no self-consciousness, there's no mixed motives, there's no using of people.